Hello everybody, and welcome back to the second part of our series where we're planning out our garden for 2023. So as you can see here, we've got a much more detailed plan from the very first video that we put out there, and we've actually filled most of it in. As you can see, we've got in the guide these items that are green. So these green items, they're the ones that actually we're going to see in the garden beds on the left hand side. So with the steel garden bed, as you can see, we've got the likes of eggplant, the tomatillo and the ground cherry. In the wooden ones, we've got the tomatoes, we've got another tomatillo there. From what I've read so far, you do actually need to have two tomatillos as well as the ground cherries, because the pollinators, the way they work, they want to work together in pairs, so or more if you can. I don't have the space for more, so we'll see how this works this year. So as you can see, we've got a lot of items like those tomatoes where it's taken up 4 squares. So what that means is it's 8 by 8 inches. And how I'm planning that is because the base, obviously we don't want things crowding the bottom of it, but we do want items to be close by. We want to work with the space that we've got. So we're going to have the likes of marigolds sitting around the base of them. We're going to have the likes of the carrots and the beets all around this area, and then towards the other side we're going to get some cucumbers in there. They're going to actually be growing up against the fence, but what we want to try and do is we want to try and fit in as much as we can in a limited amount of space that we've got, hence the name of the channel is Short on Space Gardening, because we want to try and get as much as a return from our garden as we can. Now we've also got big items like the zucchini. I love growing zucchini because it just gives and gives and gives, and every year I get zucchinis that are almost as long as my forearm, well, most of the time long as my forearm. So that is actually something that I love to do, and it's really tasty if you just grill it with a bit of garlic powder or something. Zucchinis are one of my favorites to grow, so I've always got to incorporate them into the garden no matter how much space it takes. So what we also have here is we've got the corn and we've got the beans growing together. Now in the previous video I did mention companion planting, so this is a perfect example of that. Now we've got the corns growing in rows, and in between those rows we've got the beans. Now the reason for that is most of my beans are pole beans. So we've got the green beans and the edamame up here, and what they will do is they'll actually grow up the corn. They'll attach themselves to the corn, they'll grow up, and then you don't need to trellis the beans. It's very beneficial in that sense, but the beans actually are slight nitrogen fixers. So what that means is in the roots there's going to be beneficial bacteria in there, and that helps promote nitrogen into the soil. If you want to know more of that process, Google it. I am definitely not an expert on it, but I do know that this kind of process does help, especially with peas. I've got peas going here. They're nitrogen fixers as well. They grow with my cucumbers and with my watermelon and cantaloupe, as you can see over here. I might throw a couple of beans up here as well, but we'll see how the space works out. Now, obviously they are one example of companion planting. Another example is marigolds and the likes of dill. So as we've got right here, we've got a couple of marigolds in the steel one. We've got some dill here. I'll have some marigolds potted around everywhere else as well, and may help attract certain bugs that help control other bugs in the garden. So you don't need to go crazy with spraying with insecticidal soap or even worse, because you want a good balance of nature in your garden. I found throughout the years of growing myself, and what that helps with is the likes of the aphids, which can go crazy if not checked, the beetles and such. If you're bringing in the right types of bugs, they will help balance out the garden, and means you don't really need to go crazy spraying stuff and potentially ruining your produce, ruining your plants if you're letting the bugs take over. So yeah, there's a few more, the likes of cilantro. Other herbs as well, they do attract certain bugs. So depending on what you're planting, you want to look and see what herbs you want, what other plants you want to grow with each other. And as I say, that's where this type of plant comes in useful. I don't have the information of the companion planting in here to say what's good with what. Each year I look at how I'm planting things. So what do I want to throw in this container versus that? I do rotate because obviously you don't want the same things in the same containers year on year. And due to that, then obviously I'll need to look at, okay, what goes well with what. So obviously you want to make sure with the cucumbers, the tomatoes, tomatillos, ground cherries, all of those work well. Do leeks work well with cucumbers and tomatoes? That's what I've been looking to do this year. So hopefully that gives you some insight as how I approach things, and hopefully helps you in approaching your garden. But now what we're going to do, obviously we've got the early March planting, we've got the early April planting. We're going to actually now go through and start planting some seeds indoors.
So this is the area that I use to plant my seeds. So as you can see, we've got a roof farm grow light. Now anybody who's looking to get one of these, you can get them for roughly just under $100. I think just over $100 with taxes. If you go to Princess Auto, other places is like $160. So I find shopping around can help. We've got a nice little heat pad going here. We've got a couple of trays which usually will host some of our plants or our pots, and I've got a little seedling tray to start here. Normally, obviously, as you can see with the spots inside here, this is actually going to be for the peat moss pods, but I'm not going to do that this year. I'm actually looking to use this cocoa coir. So this is pre-mixed, what I got through last night. I actually went and rinsed it, and I mixed it all together with some water. I do actually boil my water, let the water cool off, and then I put it in there, and that I find helps the seeds, so it's not such of a harsh water than regular tap water. So you can see here, I'm going to go through. I'm actually going to be filling this in here. Once that is done, all we'll simply do is we'll go through and we'll be putting in our seeds. Now I've bunched them all together, the ones that are tomatoes, tomatillos, that kind of stuff. I've got some brand new seeds this year with the Thai basil, with the ground cherry, and also I've got some of the leeks. So more than likely the leeks will go in a tray like this, because obviously the leeks, we need a lot more space, and then this guy will likely host the tomato seeds. We'll definitely need another one because, as you can see from all of the seeds here, we've got a lot of seeds that we need to go through. So as you can see from the plan earlier on, we're going to have a lot of seeds that need to go in here. So definitely a second tray is going to be required. Definitely we're going to need to use one of these for the leeks, so I will need a lot more cocoa coir. And as you can see, this is my laundry room, so this is something that is doing a dual purpose. So right on top of my washing machine, this is what I use, reusing stuff. This is what I use to mix my cocoa coir. So I will be getting more cocoa coir and rinsing that off and then mixing it in. Then I will go ahead and plant the seeds in here. Now, we don't need the LED grow light on yet. We do need the heat mat on. That will obviously help the seeds germinate quicker with a bit of heat. But with that, obviously, then we will need to make sure that the moisture level in here is sufficient. So we'll need to water it likely every day, every couple of days, but you just need to play it by ear as to how that's working. So this is the very first part. We will revisit the seeds as they go through week by week. So definitely tune in to see how the progress goes, and hopefully we will take the journey together and take it from seed all the way through to the fruit. Thank you very much, and I will be speaking to you soon.